Good afternoon, or morning, or evening, or very late at night, very early in the morning, whatever it is where you are. We see that the lost coffee mug has already checked in, um, saying, "Hey everyone, hope everyone is having a good week. Make sure to hit that like button." Indeed, thank you for being my hype person. She works while she's enjoying the live stream, so she may or may not be able to comment at the moment. So I appreciate her getting her comment in early. If anyone else is here, they want to say hi. Abby Jean. Abby Jean is here. Yay, Abby Jean. I forget to like lives, says Abby Jean. So do I. So I always appreciate it when somebody shows up in the comments of a live in which I am commenting, not necessarily on screen, and says, don't forget to like, because I always do. So I appreciate that. Now, I am not in the habit of lying to you good people. And earlier this week, on Monday, I woke up with a migraine at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And because I was like just barely waking up, I didn't have the faculties to access my pain management skills. And also, I was violently sick to my stomach. Hi, Megan, you got in here just in time. And so I couldn't take anything for it because by the time I woke up, it had progressed to the point where if I had taken something, I wouldn't have been able to hold on to it, as it were. So it was a pretty rough few hours there, not gonna lie about that. And I'm still, even a couple of days later, still a little tired. So I had all of these different things I was going to do today, and didn't really get done. I mean, I changed my sheets, I put my clothes in the wash, I did some puttering around the house. Megan says, migraines are the worst. They are indeed. My dad used to have migraines until he was about not too long after he and my mom got married, because that frequently happens, is that male children have are more, at least back then, I don't know how the research shakes out now, but male children were more likely to get migraines, but they were also more likely to outgrow them. So adult females were more likely to have problems with migraine than adult males, but that was reversed in younger years. So my dad and my mom both had migraines at about the same time until they'd been married for a couple of years, because they got married. My dad was 21 and my mom was 20. So my dad, even though he outgrew the migraines and my mother never did, he knew exactly what she was going through. And there was one time she said she was just like in a dark room and she was just in so much pain, and she's just moaning and groaning, and he comes and he says, "Oh, cheer up, nobody ever died from a migraine." And she was like, "That's not the good news you think it is. It's really the pits." Abby Jean says, "Love your outfit." Thank you. Thank you. It is my favorite flannel nightie. And I've got the popped collar, like a Victorian frat boy, dangly earrings, coordinating tiara. I feel pretty stylish, although tired. I'm not in any physical discomfort anymore, I should stress. I feel fine, just tired. Migraines really take a lot out of you, says Lisa. Yes, they do. Remember when I was in my 20s, I had a migraine on a Sunday afternoon and I worked graveyard. And my Sunday night going into Monday morning hours, I started at midnight on Monday and we finished at 5 o'clock in the morning. And one Sunday afternoon, I had a really bad migraine, and a friend of mine stopped by without calling first, which normally would have been fine. But she's like, knock, knock, knock. And I answered the door, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I have a migraine." And she said, the entire left side of my face had just completely collapsed. And she said she was, until I said migraine and that it was not even the worst migraine I'd ever had, she was going to take me to the hospital. And so she left, and after making sure I was absolutely all right and had everything I needed, she left. And that was around 4, I guess it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By the time my shift started at midnight, I was fine. And fortunately, it was just that short 5-hour shift. but I went to work and I did my shift. I wasn't brilliant at my job that day, but I was could manage. So yeah. Megan says, "What? Men can outgrow migraines? That's unfair. Women can too. It's just more likely for men to have them when they're younger and then outgrow them, and it's more likely for women to get them when they're older and not outgrow them." So, Abby Jean thinks something is hilarious. Paige says, "Hi, everyone. I hope you are feeling better, Sock." Thank you, Paige. Hi. I am feeling better, just tired. I was just telling people because I think some people would have noticed that I did not do book talk with Sock. I canceled book talk with Sock on Monday evening because I was just still pretty out of it. I was feeling physically, I wasn't in any pain anymore, but I was really out of it. And I'm a little more lively now, but still kind of tired. And so, just a programming note is that Book Talk with Sock will be happening Monday, the next Monday. What is that, June 1st or June 2nd? Monday, June 2nd will be Book Talk with Sock. So we missed last week. So instead of waiting another 2 weeks, I'm just going to go ahead and have it on the 2nd of June, 7 p.m. Eastern. And Kristen Lee will be joining me again. And we will be kind of, I think, talking about the Ever After-a-thon, wrap up, and plans for June and that kind of thing. So that should be a darn good time. And Emily Lost in the Library is joining us. Hi, Sock and Chat. Hi, Emily. It's nice to see you. She says, "Sorry to hear about your migraine attack. I have chronic migraine and it's the worst." It really is. I don't get it as often as I used to, though. That's a good thing. And my mom said the last time she had a migraine of any importance or any incapacity, she's had a couple of little bits here and there, but a really, really bad one like that, she said she was around 60. And I'm 54. And I had the special surgery a couple of years ago, and I've noticed my migraines have decreased with having had the special surgery, the lady surgery, the time of life, the time of change, the change of life surgery, whatever it is. But rest assured, I maintain my youthful exuberance, including having my stuffed animals handy. I have this adorable little penguin. And so, yeah, I'm taking it easy, just having an in-bed day. I had a bunch of stuff planned for today, just in general and for the live. I was going to record a video. That's not going to happen today. I still need to do my final week of the Ever After-a-thon. I was going to do it Sunday, and then I thought, well, we're reading until Monday afternoon, so maybe I'll do it Monday. And then, of course, Monday was shot, and I still haven't fully recovered yet. Anyway, and then today I was going to spend the live stream working on my project cart. It was the cart I showed off last week, the nice rolling cart. And right now, I haven't decided if this is going to be its total function in life or what, but it's the project cart. So I have my books and candles that I need to take pictures of for Instagram, also the books that I need for videos, some books that I need to reshelve, that kind of stuff. Oh, I got book mail today, and I accidentally left that on the project cart, which is on the other side of the room. I will get it during the 10 minutes of yuck. Anywho, so I was going to do that, and then I thought, yeah, I'm kind of stressed out. I'm not going to do that. Emily says, "Yeah, hormone shifts are huge for people with migraine. Yes, I'm glad the surgery helped. I'm also hanging out in bed, been working and reading." Nice. So, yeah, cozy time. Anyway, so I think if you noticed the thumbnail for today's live show, I got approved for being part of the Harlequin Shameless Romantics promotion, which if you have an Instagram and or TikTok with over 1,000 followers, they're interested in having you apply. And I actually had to create a NetGalley account in order to apply, because that's how what you get as part of the Shameless Romantics is you get automatic approval for Harlequin arcs on NetGalley, and I think there are some other perks as well, but that's kind of the main one. And I actually had to create a NetGalley account for that, so I didn't have any reviews on NetGalley, and they went ahead and approved me anyway. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I was thinking that today I would talk about some of the books that I've shelved and that I plan to read over the next couple of weeks, about a month or so. Um, and I was actually going to start one today, but the way I feel, I think it's probably not fair to any books I try to read, to try to read them when I don't feel so alert, because I'm not going to be able to fairly assess them. Ah, Nicole is here. Good afternoon, Nicole. That is great news, says Elisa, the lost coffee mug. Yes, I am very excited. And Nicole says, yes, I saw that. So excited for you, Sock. Thank you. And Megan says, that's awesome. Congrats, Sock. Thank you so much. It came about because I think it was in, was it the members live stream with B? She was talking about how she learned about it from Sarah the Bookish Knitter. And of course, Sarah the Bookish Knitter has actually a bit of a history with Harlequin, not just as a reader, but she's actually done promos for them in the past. I think that was several years ago. But so they both got in, and I made a joke in the comments of that live stream. I was like, are they interested in a middle-aged lady in a tiara who has subscribers in the double digits on YouTube? And B was like, well, actually, they don't care about YouTube. They care about Instagram and TikTok. So if you have over 1,000 subscribers, you might as well go ahead and apply, because that's the floor, and or the ceiling. That's what you need. That's the bar you need to clear. And I do have that many followers on the IG, on the gram, on the Insta. So I applied, and I did that. That was Friday night. And then when I finally felt like going online after my Monday morning migraine, I think it was like Monday afternoon or evening that I finally felt like I could actually look at a screen. I didn't do anything about anything at the time because I was still pretty tired, but it was like, it was cool because there was the notification that they had accepted me for this promotion. And there was also a couple of my favorite fan fiction writers had updated their works. So it was a very, very good batch of mail that I really couldn't act on right away. Lisa says, I'm grabbing some lunch. I'll be back. And too bad I'm at 700 something on IG. I hope I'm following you. Uh, I'll look into it during the 10 minutes of yuck. And Abby Jane says, the Arc Mountain begins. I can handle it. I can stop anytime I want to. Anyway, so what I thought was, I'm going to try to do a slideshow presentation, because I can, even if I can't start the books today, because like I said, I don't think I'm up for, it's not fair to try to read a book for review when I'm not really feeling as alert as I could. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the book. It's not fair to the writer, etc. So, but I did prepare a little fairly bare bones slideshow showing the titles I had selected, and I can also read the summaries. But first, maybe we should do the 10 minutes of yuck. For those of you who are new to the live stream or who haven't been at the beginning, what we do is the first sprint is just 10 minutes, and it is to just get any kind of little unpleasant chore out of the way, you know, whether it's making some phone calls or scrubbing the bathtub or loading the dishwasher or unloading the dishwasher, whatever it is, 10 minutes of yuck. I think Nicole was the one who gave it um, that name, and that's a great name for it. And Abby Jean shares that she will be scooping the cat boxes. That is very yuck indeed. So, and usually I'm going to do what I always do, which is share the link for a classic rock station in my local market, because that's what I frequently listen to. And sometimes you will see me on screen bopping out to it. And if you're interested in listening to what I'm listening to, there we go. The River 105.9. And it is, okay, it's 2:14. Nicole Alphabetti. I like it. I will be checking summer school messages. Yeah, that sounds like yuck. Okay, it's 2:14. Well, it's 14 past the hour, so we are sprinting until, let's make it 25 minutes past the hour. I got to check on my laundry, refresh my beverage, and not do anything that's too yucky. Okay, see you in about 10 minutes. Okay, are we ready to come back to reality? Or actually put aside the things of yuck? Nicole said Alpha Betty is, I have a teacher bear stuffed animal. Her name is Alpha Betty. And then she left an icon of a bear. And Abby Jean is ready to carve a watermelon. I hope that's not a euphemism for going after your enemies in a knife fight. Love that, Nicole, says Abby Jean. And while I was refreshing my beverage downstairs, I picked up a pair of educational bears that I have. We have Biblio and Libra. And they actually originally came tied to wooden L-shaped bookends, but we freed them from the bookends. And he's got a little book called Teddy's Stories, and she's got a little fruit, which my mom says is an apple, and I say is a cherry because I like cherries, even though my mom doesn't. And we know that Lisa likes cherries because she had them in her garden. She has a garden tour up on her channel now. Very nice looking garden. I have fresh watermelon juice I made this morning in the fridge for a snack, says Nicole. I was discussing the merits of doing pickled watermelon rinds. However, it does use a lot of sugar, so if you're trying to avoid that kind of thing, maybe don't pickle your watermelon rinds, but if you don't care, they're excellent treats. At least I like them. Adorable! Yes, I found them in a thrift store here in town, and I wrapped them up and gave them to my mom for Christmas, so I'm borrowing them from her. Anyway, Biblio Libra, and because we don't go to school anymore around here, we think they're library bears, but they could be teacher bears, some educational capacity. Nicole says, Enzo is hanging out in bed with me, the 5-year-old, and you made his day with the stuffies. Oh, that's not all. I think you weren't here yet when I brought out Penny. She's a penguin. Hi, Enzo. And I also have a Raggedy Ann. Hi there. And I have this wolf that my grandmother crocheted in 1976 for Christmas 1976. His name is Seymour. She crocheted him. He is the big bad wolf. And she crocheted 3 similarly bipedal pigs. And she put him in my dad's stocking, and my mom, my sister, and I each got a pig. Abby Jean says, I need to order some bookends. There are a lot of really cute ones out there. I've also seen them at like Marshall's and TJ Maxx and Home Goods and those kinds of places. So, and Lisa says those bears are adorable. And Abby Jean says, I'll have to check out the garden tour. It is lovely. It is very nice. By popular demand, because I know she was mentioning gardening in one of the live streams or many of the live streams, and everybody was just like, we would like to see that if you don't mind, because she has a YouTube channel, so she put it up, and it is lovely. Enzo is asking what the wolf's name is again. Hang on. It is Seymour, but it's not. It's spelled slightly differently than usual for the name Seymour. There we go. Seymour T. Wolf. See, we can make him look like a news anchor with his name below him on the screen. And now, Betty with the weather. Anyway, Seymour T. Wolf. The T stands for the. Anyway, so he's been hanging around. He's like, what, almost 50 now? Christmas 1976. So he's 48 and a half, or almost 48 and a half. Nicole says, he loves it. Hey, Enzo. We're just hanging out with the ladies today. Ladies? I love that wolf, says Lisa. Oh, I love you too, Lisa. Yes, well, we caught him on a rare day when he doesn't have a beer in his hand. He's 49, so 48, so it's okay. Anyway, so I actually have a little bit of a haul today. If people are interested in the haul, there's a haul because I did a little shopping over the weekend. Um, I went on a mini shopping expedition on Saturday. Uh, the shop I frequently mention, Montgomery and Taggart in beautiful beautiful Chester, Connecticut. I'm always getting Chester and Cheshire mixed up in my mind, but it's beautiful, quaint Chester, Connecticut. Montgomery and Taggart, Connecticut's first and so far only romance bookstore. Yes, show us, says Lisa. Oh, yay, I love hauls. If you're interested in more and you haven't seen it yet, I have a video from a couple of weeks ago called Field Trip, where I went to Montgomery and Taggart, and they actually were kind enough to let me film there. So I did my little stand-up introduction for the video, and while I was sitting down, but my little introductory clip for the video, and then I did a tour of the shop, which is in shaky vision because I still haven't quite mastered the art of like keeping the camera steady while I wander around. Anyway, so I went there because they were having a special Memorial Day event. They had a relatively small but still robust and diverse clearance table where they were offering things for 40% off. So I got a book. I looked at a couple of different books and I ended up I chose just one. And then after I went to Montgomery and Taggart, I went to a local library where I saw the other book that I had considered getting and chose not to. I saw it on the new bookshelf. Mm-hmm. It is called From Air, and it is by Jewel E. Ann. Smoke hides, loves lies. So she is a psychiatric nurse, and she moves in with a house full of firefighters, and she is fascinated by their kind of rushing into danger and so on. Yes, says Paige, show us the hall. And then she can't help but fixate on Calvin, a grumpy, enigmatic smoke jumper, 10 years her senior. She makes playfully tormenting him her pet project, trying to get him to open up. It turns out he gives as good as he gets. Oh, does he now? And then, but Calvin has a secret, one he won't explain. She'll learn more after life pulls them apart. But as she follows the truth like a trail of flame into the dark, will it lead her to hearth and home with Calvin, or will it all go up in a blaze? From Air. Okay, so that was the book from the 40% off table that I selected. And this is not a drill, people. They had candles. They had candles. And even at 40% off, they were a little on the pricey side, but I was still picked one up. It came in this box. Abby Jean says, I enjoy firefighter romances, but they're always weird for me because my brother-in-law is a firefighter. You know what always, speaking of people you know, and do you really want to read books about people you know? The one that always freaked me out was, this became super popular when I was in like high school, junior high school, Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews, the incest book. And all of my classmates were reading it. And I think I read it fairly late in its way as it was cycling through my high school. But I had heard the major plot points. And after I read it, I was just like looking at all of my classmates who read this book, loved this book. And the ones who had brothers, I was just like, do I now know more about you than I really wanted to? Or no? I don't know. Abby Jean says there. Yeah, got it. Okay, so this candle I picked out, ooh, it's a wood wick. I haven't actually taken it out of its box. It is from a company called A Pleasant Thought. It's called Salem, and it is smoked bourbon and maple. So I think that this, oh, and look, it's got a black kitty cat on the label. And this company is a Canadian, for those of you keeping track. And I think this makes a pretty good pairing to get the from air and the smoked, because it's firefighter smoked maple and bourbon. Anyway, yeah, Salem is just the name of the candle. They had, I don't remember what the other ones were called, but this was the one that was most appealing. And it's nice and big. It's soy wax, and it's got the cute cat on it. I don't know if that's actually Salem from Clarissa, not Clarissa, the other Melissa Joan Hart series, Sabrina. Anyway, anyway, so I've got a built-in pairing. I was actually going to take a picture of these with the little Montgomery and Taggart paper bag with their logo on it. I was going to do that and put it up on Instagram on Monday because they were open Memorial Day and the sale was still going on, but I was too sick to deal with that. Megan says, love how you always shout out Canadians. Whenever I can. It's based on, I think I told you about this when, I think it was when we were having like a private live stream just so I could show you my equipment because you were curious. Back in 2011, I went to Toronto for a week, and Superstorm Sandy came through, so I spent spent the night in, just relaxing and watching TV, and I was watching ESPN Canada, and on Sports Center, every time they were talking about an internationally known athlete, they would append the word Canadian to their name. So they were talking about like the New Orleans Pelicans. So they were talking about Steve Nash, Canadian. So that's why I had that video. I posted a short several months ago, I think it was back in February, where I saw these Canada geese were outside in my neighborhood, and I stopped and I took a video of them, and I just concluded the video by saying Canadian. I just like saying Canadian. So that's the stuff I got at Montgomery and Taggart. And then I went to Haddam, Connecticut, which is just north of Chester, where Montgomery and Taggart is. And I went to the Haddam Library and I picked up a lot of books, but I also went to their Friends of the Library sale. Last time I went there, I scored a lot of free books. I didn't see anything in the free bin that I was interested in this time, but I did see this for 50 cents, and that is The Mistress by Susan Wiggs. And guess what this is? It is a very lovely step back. The Passion. Let me see. I've got 4 million reading glasses by my side, and I don't know which is which. I can't tell whether or not this rather gothic-looking ruin is actually on fire. But anyway, there's passion. There may or may not be a fire, a literal fire. And she is the mistress. Oh, yeah. So I got that. And I have book mail. Oh, I brought this stuff over here. Seems like I forgot to pick book mail, you guys. And this came this morning. I haven't opened it yet. I don't have scissors. Foresight and planning. My mom was had me check out a book for her from the library. It was nonfiction. And I asked her, she said it was ready to go back. And I said, was it any good? And she said, it was okay. She said, I thought what the guy was talking about was interesting. She said it was interesting, but it was poorly organized. And I said, can I use that as a promotional quote for Bargain Counter Argument YouTube? She laughed a little too hard at that. Okay. Okay. And this is what I got from Thrift Books. Yesterday's Sun, a Star Trek novel by A.C. Crispin that Okay, that's just that up there is not damage to the cover. It's just a price tag that can be removed. And this book, I thought I brought it over here with me, but I didn't. Anyway, this is just early Star Trek novel. I think it's number 11 in the Star Trek novel. Not it's not a novelization. It's a tie-in novel. And comments. Come on. Megan's laughing. Canadian. Um, Yesterday's Sun. What happened was this is uh when I was at that library, the other library, not Haddam, the other one that was just giving away their mass market paperbacks, I found a copy of, oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but okay, this came out in 1988. I found a copy of a book that came out a few years later, and I can't remember what it was called now, but it was the sequel to this. But I didn't realize it was the sequel to this. And I was reading the Time for Yesterday is what it was called. I was reading the summary of it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I read this like 30 years or more ago. And it turned out this is the book I had read, because the other one was its sequel. So I was like, oh, the plot sounds familiar because it's just kind of like building on that book I already read. But it's been so long since I read it that I wanted to reread it before I read the other books. So I ended up ordering it from thrift books after I was not able to find it at local used bookstores. So that's what my big book mail was. So that is my little haul. So do we want to do a sprint before I talk about the Harlequin books that I have decided to read for the arcs that I'm going to be reading from Harlequin over the next couple of weeks? Or what do we want to do? Nice, says Paige. I like it. Anyway, let's sprint, says Abby Jean. Just finished the watermelon. Need to prep dinner now. Ooh. Okay, and Lisa also says sprint. So it is. I'm good for a sprint, says Paige. Okay, well, it is 18 minutes before the hour. Do we want to go for half an hour? 45 minutes? 40 minutes? Anybody have any opinions? Any projects they want to work on that take longer than a half an hour? I'm thinking we can go for a little bit over a half an hour just so we finish at 15 after the hour, which is going to be, let's do 30 minutes, says Lisa. 30 minutes is good for Paige. I think we're going to go just a smidge bit over 30 minutes, 32 minutes. The half hour idea is good for Nicole Alphabetti. I think we'll do the, Megan says, still working and trying to do extra, so longer sprints for me. Well, unfortunately, it seems like the mob has spoken. I mean, the crowd has, the commenters, the commentariat has spoken, and they're interested in 30 minutes. And I'm going to round that up a couple of minutes, and we'll go till quarter after the hour. So here we go. There we are with the radio station, which I may not be listening to because I might be reading and I can't listen to music and read at the same time. And sprinting until Megan says 30 is fine. Let's not fight. 15 minutes. So I'll see you in about a half an hour. Okay, it's time to come back now. Nicole, do you still have Enzo with you? Okay, I sure do. Because while I was ambling around finding stuff, I grabbed another stuffy that I thought Enzo might like to see. That is Laurentius. He's a lion. And he came from the bookstore at Ventura Community College, where I attended many classes. And he is a very patient lion because I always want to dork him up, as we say. That is to say, get him all nice and tidy for his school pictures. And Laurentius doesn't really appreciate this. He says it makes him feel like a total nerd. And also, he points out that he does not get school pictures. Oh, there you go. Anyway, so I get him all dorky looking, and then I shake him up. Look at him! Look at him go! Look at him go! And then he looks better than he did before. Better than when he was dorky, and better before I tidied him up. So that is Laurentius. Okay, that was Little Stuffed Animal story time for the littlest viewer. Now then, did everybody have a nice sprint? I guess most people were working. I know Abby Jean was fixing some dinner. I don't know if anybody was reading. If you were, please share the details. I was mostly just futzing around. I don't know if you remember from last week's Joanne haul, where I went to Joanne and picked up some paper products on the cheap. I got this, what is it, Happy Notes, Happy Planner. It's got a flamingo and a really boss cheetah. Well, I wasn't sure what I was going to use it for, but now I think I am going to use it to log my arcs because I am an analog thinker. Emily says, I was working, almost done for the day. Oh, that's right. You were working from the cozy comfort of your own bed. Enzo says he likes him all shaken up. LOL, made my boys day to hear his name on YouTube. Well, hey, Enzo, I like it better when I'm all shaken up, too. Yeah, so I decided I'm going to use this for my arcs because I am now going to be having some arcs. And I did a little bare bones slideshow, and I've never tried to do a slideshow type situation before. So hopefully this works. So are we ready to see the books that I picked out to start me off on my arc journey? Blinkety blinkety. Nicole says yes, she is ready. Okay. Now there is some, yes, says Abby Jean. There are some clinch covers here. So Enzo might be like, are these kissing books? Yeah, they kind of are. So yeah. Emily says, I use Google Notes a lot, but sometimes writing things down physically is just better. Yeah, um I use a mix of electronic. I just like to write things down. I find enjoyment from the physical act of writing. So yes. Okay, so anyway, so Nicole, these are, kissing books, and some of the covers may reflect that, and some of the themes may reflect that. So just be warned. Okay. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this just fine. This was the first one I picked, is His Forgotten Wife by Tara Pami. which is coming out on August 1st, 2025. And if anybody wants summaries, please let me know. So, yeah, I mean, this is like Amnesia, and I can only assume that there is a secret billionaire baby involved, one hopes. So we got that. Look at the glamour. Oh my gosh, the glamour. Harlequin presents. When I was reading Harlequin books when I was in junior high, high school, Harlequin presents was always my favorite line because those were the ones with like a lot of rich people behaving badly. Frequently, you would have um, young women swept into a glamorous world that they were kind of a fish out of water in. Although frequently they would also have women who had glamorous careers of their own. So it wasn't just that. And there was a big emphasis on foreign travel, that is to say, outside the UK, because these were originally reprints of some books published in the UK under the various imprints of Mills and Boon. And so at first, that's all Harlequin did, was just simply reprint those for the North American markets. They were written by British authors, sometimes Australian, New Zealander, or even South American. And then gradually they started introducing Canadian and US writers to the mix. So basically, they would be traveling to countries where English was not the predominant language. And usually, if they were set in Australia or New Zealand or South Africa, they were by people who lived in those countries. And Nicole says, oh, all good. He's back to watching his Zelda video on the TV. Nice. So apparently, they still have the emphasis on exotic travel. So this is going to be from that Presents line. And this was the first one I picked. So let's see. Now, how do I advance? There we go. The next slide is, this is an Harlequin historical, The Cowboy's English Lady by Laurie Robinson, July 1st of this year. It's about a cowboy and an English lady. And back then you didn't have secret billionaire babies, you only had secret millionaire babies, but I don't think this is about millionaires. Maybe it's a secret cowboy baby. It's a baby who's already a cowboy. Oh boy. Yeah. One can only hope. It's like Rogue in Texas, only backward. Only she's not a rogue, she's a lady. And then this is Harlequin Intrigue, Dark Web Investigation by Katie Metner, coming out on the 1st of July. I can only assume there's going to be some kind of I don't know how dodgy the computer capabilities are going to be in this story, but I'm looking forward to finding out. And one of the things, I mean, I was struck by this one. This is Harlequin Intrigue. I was struck by the cover. It's got a striking cover. And the other thing is, apparently, this lady, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but anyway, the lady is an amputee, so we've got some disability rep. You don't often see that in romance novels, even romantic suspense. So that's probably going to be pretty cool. I think this is the start of a series too, but I'm not sure. And then July 1st, King, Enemy, Husband by Jackie Ashenden. Also Harlequin Presents line, because that's just that's what they do. Just unhinged people from backgrounds of enormous wealth and privilege, but they still have problems forming interpersonal relationships. Usually not just romance, but like their families are usually messed up. And it's like one of those things that's designed to make you think, oh, I'm glad I'm not rich. And also from Presents, Marriage Made in Hate by Julia James, coming out on the 29th of July. Again, with the glamour. Ooh, so glamorous. And coming out on the 29th of July, Fake Date on the Orient Express. This is from the romance line. Those tend to be a little less steamy than Presents, at least historically. They've been a little less steamy than Presents, and usually they didn't necessarily, they could involve glamorous exotic travel, This one, I'm guessing, does, and I'm pretty sure that it's pretty much what it says. We're going to go on the Orient Express, and there's going to be some fake dating, and I like those things. And then finally, 8th July. I don't have these in the order they're going to be released, but this is for the 8th of July, Weaponized by Kelly Kilburn. And I'm not sure if this is a specific imprint or what, but it is actually a college mafia romance, and it's the first book of this Heirs of the Organized series. I don't know if those are by different authors, if it's a publisher series, or if it's all by Kelly Kilburn. I'm looking forward to finding out. And Abby Jean says, can't wait to hear what you think of all of these. Oh, you will find out. You will. You won't be able to get me to shut up. Paige says, I actually really enjoy the Harlequin historical line. The presents line is just wealth and exotic locations, which is so fun to read. Well, there's also like really, really unhinged interpersonal behavior. So yeah, I love all that stuff. I haven't read a whole lot of Harlequin historicals, but I've enjoyed the ones that I have read, including one that I have from like 1992, 93, and I've spoken about it on the channel before, but no reason you would remember because it was quite some time ago. I did put it on my 12 Rex, I think. I'm not sure, even though it's not easy to find because it is on the Harlequin historical from the early 90s. But it's the one about the character who is a knight, and she was assigned female at birth, to use modern terminology, and she's living as a knight. And the she, her pronouns are used quite aggressively in the story, but that was back before they, them was really acceptable, because I think really more than anything else, Sir Drew, as that character is known, is maybe gender fluid or non-binary. Anyway, so it's remarkably progressive for being something that was published by a relatively conservative publisher, as Harlequin was in those times. And that was by, oh gosh, To Touch the Sun. Barbara Lee, was that her name? Yes, Barbara Lee was the name of the writer. Anyway, so those are I think that's all of them. Yeah, those are the first 7 I've picked out. There are some more I have my eye on, including one from Carina, which is their, well, this is actually Afterglow Carina, which is kind of like their the ones that don't have numbers on the cover. Cool, says Abby Jean, because a lot of these will have numbers because they're part of the publisher series. These are a little more loose. And it is by an author called Carmen Lee, Carmen with a K, and it's called, Secret Crush Book Club, and it is a small town single mom and librarian sapphic romance. And it turns out I actually picked up a book by that same writer, Carmen Lee, when I was at a library book sale recently. The 710 Split. Oh, wait, let me go ahead and yeah, there I am. The 710 Split. I like this cover, especially the lady with the purple bowling ball. She's just got the sassiest look. Anyway, Secret Crush Book Club is by this same writer, and it's also sapphic. I think this is small 10. Anyway, this is Second Chance, which I don't normally go for, but it was at a library sale where it was just like fill up your bag for like $5 or whatever. So it was practically, it's not quite free, but just about. And so I got it, and now it's like, oh, if I can read this and then get the other one, I don't actually have to request these. That's the cool part of being in this, what do they call it, Shameless Romantics promotion, is that I'm just automatically approved for all their arcs. So I think Secret Crush Book Club isn't coming out until, okay, yeah, Secret Crush Book Club's not coming out until August 26th, so I have plenty of time to read this and request the other one. Abby Jean and I hope I'm not telling tales out of school, but we were joking about me being on Arc Mountain, and I was like, I can handle it. I know I can. Famous last words. Famous last words. So those are the selections I've made. If anybody wants to hear some synopses of any of these, let me know. I am going to prioritize these according to when they're being published. So soonest publication date will be the soonest read. So, but I'm curious if there are any that any of you would be interested just based on the titles and the covers. Hang on, let me put this slideshow back up so you can take a. Abby Jean says, I am intrigued by a few of those. Marriage and Hate is one of them. Do you actually want to hear a summary, or do you want to just bask in the speculation? Weaponized, of course. Yes. I didn't know Harlequin was doing that. I don't know if that's a new thing for them or if they've been doing like the dark romance, mafia romance all along or what, but um yeah. Oh, another comment. Yes, please. You do want to hear the summary for marriage. What is marriage, maiden, hate? Okay, let's do this. I have got like so many reading glasses kicking around here. Got my okay. Marriage made in hate. I like that the description, they just start off with a list of tropes. Marriage made in hate is an enemies to lovers, arranged marriage, Italian billionaire romance by Julia James. You can't escape the enemy when you're his wife. After she spent a lifetime destitute and alone, Bianca Mason's delight at discovering the family she never knew existed turns to dismay. Her dying grandfather commands her to wed Luca Dalbruschi, the ruthless Italian who once put his billions and his privilege before her. Though she has no choice but to act the benevolent bride to be, Bianca won't forgive or forget the pain Luca caused, except as each day passes, more memories of their ill-advised affair return. And it's clear the hate between them is only hiding the agonizing passion still simmering beneath. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to have a fun couple of hours reading that. Ooh, says Abby Jean. Ooh, indeed. Oh. Are those startled eyes? Is that an emoticon or a word? Let me see it. I know what it means. Anyway, so yeah. Marriage made in hate. I was thinking that when B does the what is it, summer passport thing, I might just fulfill it using Harlequin books, like from my vast collection of stuff from the 80s or these or whatever. Sounds like a fun read, says Paige. I think so. I think it does. Those are eyes, but ooh reflects the meaning, lol. That's why I was confused, because I was like, I think those are eyes, but ooh also kind of, yeah. Anyway, so yes, that is I'm guessing there's kind of an Italian setting to that. That's the impression I'm getting. So, Italy was always a popular setting for Italy with Italian main male characters, male main characters. Was always like kind of popular with presents and romance too. BRB, says Abby Jean. Anybody else has something they specifically want to learn more about, or that, let's see, go all the way back to the beginning. His Forgotten Wife, The Cowboy's English Lady, Dark Web Investigation, King, Enemy, Husband, Marriage Made in Hate, we just discussed, Fake Date on the Orient Express, Weaponized. So anyway, there are some more. His Forgotten Wife, you want to know more about that? I know. I always love a good amnesia story, or even a bad amnesia story. Even a bad amnesia story, I'm not particularly discriminating. Okay. His Forgotten Wife. Oh, golly. Yeah, here we go. His Forgotten Wife is a fake engagement, amnesia, Greek billionaire boss romance by Tara Pami. The boss secretly wed her, then forgot. Ares Demetrius wakes up from a coma to find his family scheming to steal his company. The first call the billionaire makes is to his loyal assistant, Dolly Singh, as Singh, so I'm guessing she might be of Indian descent, to demand she become his fake fiancée to protect his business empire. Except his accident has made him forget they're already married. Unlike Ares, Dolly remembers every excruciating detail, their clandestine wedding, and her mortifying love confession. To refuse his proposal would be to relive that. This time, though, Dolly is playing with fire by accepting Ares' diamond, because the attraction isn't just scorching, it's mutual. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotta go, says Nicole. My girls want to go to the library, so mom is needed. Seymour says bye. Have fun, Nicole. Have fun indeed. The Presents books sound like soap operas. Yes, yes, that is exactly it. Only they're like really short. These are like 208 pages, but I don't know how much of that is margin. Anyway, yes, that's exactly what they do, except they're self-contained, and well, sometimes they'll have like a interconnected standalones kind of a deal, but yeah, they're very sudsy. And that is kind of why I love them, or I don't know. I like a soap opera, but you don't have the same commitment, the time commitment. Not even the same time commitment you would with a telenovela. I have returned, says Abby Jean. Nicole has gone away because her girls wanted her to take them to the library. So she is doing that. Hopefully they have a lovely time and find lots of delightful books. So anyway, yeah. So I'm excited to embark upon this new venture by Nicole and Joy, says Abby Jean. Indeed. I'm excited to embark upon this new adventure, and hopefully, I mean, for somebody who won't even give things a star recommendation on Goodreads, hopefully I don't fall down on the job too much in making sure these get reviewed and so on. Yeah. So that's where we stand on this. Do we want to hear more? Emily says several of these books will work for Bee's vacation prompts next month, the Greek and Italy setting. Yes, and the Orient Express one, I don't know if she has. The Orient Express, of course, goes through a lot of different countries, so I don't know if she has any countries that'll be relevant to. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to use nothing but Harlequins, either these or from my huge collection of Harlequins from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, late 70s, or yeah, mostly from the 80s, because they have some pretty cool settings. Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can do that. Might not be able to for all of them, but it'll be cool to try. So, do folks want to hear more about any of these titles, or do we want to have a sprint, or what do we want to do? Emily says, I was just going through my June TBR list and making my picks. Ooh, you want to share? Or is that going to be something you do during the sprint? Or I have my my library books. I actually thinned out my library books considerably. Uh, I have a stack of books that I have already read. I just need to photograph them and talk about them in a video, which I was going to do that today, but like I said, I'm still a little too tired, so I'm hoping to do that tomorrow. Then I can return them. I also went through the books I checked out over the last couple of weeks to decide whether or not I actually wanted to read them, and there were about 6 or 7 that I decided probably were not for me. Abby Jean says, I'm going to read Taken by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd for the Greek Week. It's on my 12 in 2025, so that works perfectly. Taken by a Sinner. I remember seeing that. Do you happen to remember whose pick that was? Because that was one of the 12 Rex by 12 Friends, or for 12 Friends. Emily says, yep, here's what I have so far. Greek Secret by Francesca Catlow, KU, Greek prompt. Murder in Tuscany by T.A. Williams, KU, Italy prompt. The Paris Library, Libby Hold, The Vineyards of Champagne. And Emily says, might add a few more. I like to have options to choose from. Yes, that's always fun. There was a book I had out from the library, and I was kind of iffy about whether or not to read it. It was by Anna Todd, the new one. I can't remember what it's called. Last Summer or something like that. And I was kind of iffy about reading it. And one of the things that made me actually bring it home was that it's set on the Spanish island of Mallorca. And when I was in high school, junior high and high school, for 5 years straight, my parents and I would go to Mallorca for Thanksgiving weekend. We were living in Germany, so it wasn't like we were schlepping transatlantic just for Thanksgiving weekend. And it was always a good time. And we went there one year. We went there a sixth time that wasn't during Thanksgiving. And so I started it though, and I don't know, it was just not quite what I wanted to read, so I decided to return it unread. That doesn't mean I'll never read it or that I hated it or anything. It's just not where my head is at right now. Abby Jean says, it's not from 12 Rex, from 12 Friends. I have personal 12 and 25. Oh, okay. Books from your 2024 TBRs that you never got around to. Okay, got it. And it is mafia, although in Greece they have a crime syndicate, not a mafia, but that's neither here nor there. You know, people use the term mafia to refer to the actual Italian organized crime, Greek organized crime, Irish organized crime, Yakuza, Japanese organized crime, the Bratva, the Russian. People just tend to use the term mafia as kind of like an umbrella term for any kind of hierarchical criminal organization. So, speaking of, I have J.T. Geisinger's, the sequel to, oh gosh, now I can't remember the name of those books. I read the first book in the series. I read it, I think, in April, and I talked about it in my first bargain counter argument after hours. Well, technically, my first bargain counter argument after hours was the book Confessions tag, but this is my first one where I talked about, you know, where I just did a wrap up of the like darker and spicier types of romances that I'd read. Let's see, J.T. Geisinger, Queens and Monsters. Is that the name of the series? It is. Ruthless Creatures was the first one. Savage Hearts is the one I found at the library. So I have that. And I have, yes, Queens and Monsters. This is the second book because Ruthless Creatures was the first one that I already read, Savage Hearts. And Carnal Urges is one of my favorites. Wow. Which one is that from that same series? Queens and Monsters books. Carnal Urges. Oh, I thought. Oh, it's also Brutal Vows. That's also Sophie Lark had a book with that title. Okay, I thought Savage Hearts was the second one, but this is listing them as third. I don't know how necessary it is to read them in order. Hopefully not too. I've got all these tabs. I have like 6 tabs open, and I keep having trouble finding StreamYard. Let me just go ahead and put myself center because that's what people are here for, isn't it? To see my face and my jaunty ponytail. Anyway, so do we want sprints or what's the deal? What are people thinking? People are thinking that I should make the decisions because it's my live stream. Sprints. We're doing sprints. Abby Jean says, I have a discussion question for everyone, then we can sprint. Oh, that sounds lovely. Yes, please, go ahead. In fact, I might forego a final sprint and just close it out because I am kind of tired. But I would like to hear your discussion question. Oh, during that last sprint, I wandered around my space and I found the sequel to Yesterday's Sun, the book I got for free, which was uh, Time for Yesterday. And as you can see, it's got a dude on horseback. And I think he's not wearing all of his clothing. Okay. Abby Jean wants to know, do you all reread a lot or rewatch shows and movies? I rewatch shows and movies. I reread a fair amount, especially fan fiction. There are just some old favorites I like to go back to. And that's true of professionally published stuff as well. Uh, I remember when we first got a VCR back in the ancient days when that was how you watched movies. I would sit down and we didn't have a whole lot of movies to choose from with our little overseas Army and Air Force exchange video rental service. I would sit down and I would watch a movie like 6 or 7 times. I would have like during the like 3 or 4 days we could have it out. I would watch it 6 or 7 times, and I had like every line of dialogue, every shot I would have memorized. So I had a strong grounding when I went to film school. And Lisa says there are a few books that I like to reread, but I actually rewatch movies and TV shows a lot. I feel like movies and TV shows are more for comfort. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think when I was watching movies over and over and over again, partially it was the novelty, but partially it was like, hmm, I like this movie. Why did this work? Or I didn't like this movie. Why didn't it work? Or this movie should have been good, but it wasn't. Or this movie shouldn't have been good and it was. What is making this work? And I found it easier to sort of take apart and examine movies than I did books. So I'm not sure why that was, but Paige says, I don't reread a lot, but I will rewatch shows and movies all the time. That's like a comfort thing for me, but not sure why I don't feel that way about rereading books. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, obviously Paige and Lisa just said this, and a lot of people feel that way about TV shows and movies in a way that they don't feel that way about books. Um, I don't know if that's because maybe like the first time you watched a movie, it was in a social situation and that kind of recalls that comfort. Like this is something I sit down with Seymour. Seymour was my dad's wolf, that my grandmother knitted, crocheted those, the big bad wolf and the three little pigs, like I said, for my dad, the big bad wolf, and my sister, my mom, and I for the three little pigs. And I remember like my dad and I, when I was in junior high, my mom came back to the States to be with my sister for like she was having a personal thing that my mom was helping out with. And my dad and I were just kind of hanging out. And we spent a weekend watching the original Planet of the Apes movies. And Seymour was like, we'd pass Seymour back and forth. Well, between my dad's easy chair and the couch I was sprawled out on, we were passing Seymour back and forth and having snacks and stuff and watching the Planet of the Apes movies. So every couple of years, I will sit down, with Seymour, and just have a Planet of the Apes original movies marathon. And it's very comforting. And it reminds me of like hanging out with my dad. And Megan says, I like to reread favorite books every few years, or I reread books of a series before reading the newest book. Yes. And I definitely rewatch too. Abby Jean says, thanks everyone. I've been thinking about it lately. Are you going to share your own feelings about the subject, or are you don't have to. I mean, you pose the question. That doesn't mean you have to answer it if you don't want to. And like I said, I think I'm gonna chit chat for a little while and then close it down because I'm getting kind of tired. I certainly appreciate everyone coming and hanging out with me as I have my relaxing midweek motivation. I hope it wasn't too demotivational, but it sounds like people got stuff done. Also, I'm kind of warm. This flannel nightie is very cozy and comforting. but it is a little on the warm side for this time of year. Lisa says, thank you for doing these. Well, thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And I'm glad I was able to do it, because after I felt bad about kind of having to cancel Book Talk with Sock. Again, the programming note for Book Talk with Sock is because I canceled it this past Monday, instead of waiting 2 weeks for the next one, again, I'm going to go ahead and do it on Monday, the 2nd of June. So that is less than a week away. And Kristen Lee will be joining me, and we will be doing our own like Ever After-a-thon wrap-ups, and interested to hear other people's thoughts if they were participating, or if they were observing, or if they were not doing either of those things. Abby Jean says, I only reread occasionally, but I rewatch often as well. However, I haven't been wanting to watch a lot of our favorites lately because I feel like I had too big of a reliance on them during hard times. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes if you do that, then when the good times come again, or when things are a little less fraught, you're like, this kind of reminds me of when I was feeling not so great. So, or other people, it's like, I don't know. It's just different for different people, and different for the same person at different times in your life, probably. And Lisa wants to know, are those at night, the Book Talk with Sock? Yes, Book Talk with Sock is every other Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, unless there's some kind of a weird scheduling thing. If I'm going to have a guest, like when Crystal came on to talk about the Ever After-a-thon, I did that on a Tuesday because Monday wasn't good availability for her. But usually it would be every other Monday. And it was supposed to be this past Monday, but of course, because I was sick, that was canceled. So I'm going to do it this upcoming Monday instead of waiting for 2 weeks. And Paige says, I'm going to grab some lunch, so I'm going to sign off. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. You too, Paige. Enjoy your lunch, your dinner, and so on. And I will see you around town. Lisa says, have a good night. Abby Jean says, bye, Paige. Yeah, so that's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday. And again, Kristen Lee will be joining me. Bye, Lisa, Abby Jean, and Sock, says Paige. Bye. And yeah. So yeah, and those, by the way, Book Talk with Sock is just discussion. It's usually about 45 minutes. I think sometimes we go longer than an hour, but usually it's 45 minutes to an hour. And it's just discussion, no sprints, just book talk with Sock and Kristen Lee this time. So yeah. And I don't know, I missed last Sunday for having a video up, but I don't know when I'm going to post the next video. Probably no later than this upcoming Sunday, maybe before. Dang Sock, says Abby Jean. I just set up my June planner today, and now I'm going to have to break out the whiteout for a schedule change. Oh, I'm sorry. But yes, it's going to be June 2nd, and then I'm going to pick up with every other Monday. It just didn't seem, I didn't want to leave it too long, because the last one was on the 12th of May. And then this one was supposed to be on the 26th. And if I waited until the next schedule, it wouldn't be until the 9th. And that's almost a month. And that's 4 weeks. Yeah, it's a little too long. So yes, so it'll be on June 2nd, and then June 16th, and then June 30th. So yeah, sorry. You can always just like show up on the days you originally wrote down on the schedule and be like sending me these DMs saying, where are you? It's Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. What's the deal? Oh, good. LOL, says Abby Jean. That's why pencils have erasers, except you don't use pencil, do you? Well, whiteout. Whiteout. Okay. Thanks for the sprints today. It was super productive afternoon. Great. Thank you again, everybody, for showing up. And if you're available at 7 p.m. Eastern on Monday for Book Talk with Sock, please join us. Or not, I am not the boss of you. And I will be back here next week for more midweek motivation. Oh, one more comment. I hope you keep feeling better, Sock. Thank you. Again, at least I'm not in any discomfort. I'm just tired. And, that just reminds me of graduate school. Bye, everyone. Bye, Megan. I've been listening in as I work. Okay. Bye, and see you guys later.